I was shocked when I got into my field and I found out I could make £800 a day.
You know, me personally, I've never done 9 to 5 in my life. Just didn't like the idea.
How else are you going to learn? Like, those aspirations are all nice. If you haven't actually worked in those sort of industries, you have a...
You're coming out the ends, there's a lot of things that are holding you back. How do you navigate that? Because coming from that background, the mindset is very toxic, bro.
So yeah, I grew up in South Tottenham. I was definitely easily influenced. But as you can imagine, it's a very hostile environment where if you start doing well, there were certain situations were happening where people...
How do you manage that, Aki? Because I feel like sometimes that's even harder than the actual skill, man.
I'll be honest here, I've never spoke about it online. Really reluctant to talk about it online because...
Okay, I know you're here for the podcast, but I need to share something with you that could literally change your life. If you're tired of low pay, feeling stuck, and you've been dreaming about making Hijrah, especially to places like this, Sharjah, this might be your path. Brother Murrad, today's guest, built a DevOps community and mentorship called Kodakul. And students with zero tech background are landing 70 to 120k a year jobs in less than a year. One sister went from midwife to DevOps engineer. A 19-year-old brother got 3 job offers with no degree. This is real. You'll get a full roadmap, live mentorship. They even help you with your LinkedIn, your CV, seeking jobs, etc. This is the full package. So if you're serious about changing your income, your future, and maybe even your postcode, then click the link in the description, watch the video to find out more, and join the community. With that said, let's get straight into the podcast, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ramadan Mubarak, guys. Today, we're back with another episode. We have someone pretty incredible sitting in front of me, Allah Mubarak. A brother who came out of the hood from Tottenham and done something pretty spectacular. We don't hear about this coming out of the hood, mashallah, which is the brother not only became one of the leading youngest DevOps engineers in the UK, but Allah Mubarak also established the largest Muslim tech community called DeenGineers. And currently, Allah Mubarak, alongside many other businesses that he has, is training and coaching Muslims through the Kodakul Bootcamp to land jobs with a starting salary of 60k a year with zero experience prior. So you're actually taking guys, helping them get jobs in terms of cloud engineering, DevOps, mashallah, tabarakallah, and they have zero experience, which is a very, very nice job to have because you got time freedom, location freedom in a sense, Allah Mubarak. You have a recruitment company as well. You do some B2B stuff, mashallah, tabarakallah. And you got some swagger, akhi, man. Barakallah fi. Welcome to the podcast.
My brother, it's good to be here, man. Alhamdulillah.
Well, it's a pleasure, man. So we actually met a year ago. I think it was just before Ramadan we met, right?
Yeah, we met a year back.
MashaAllah.
Do you remember?
I remember we met in the cafe, Saula.
Yeah.
Amari brought you guys in, right?
Yeah.
And look, everyone's got something that they're doing nowadays. For me, as I'm sure for you as well, I measure what the effectiveness of what someone does based on what other people say about him, right? So there was a brother from the UK who had come to visit me. He was one of my students in the masjid. I used to teach him. And I remember he was talking, and he's a tech guy, he's a data analyst. And then suddenly he was talking about DeenGineers. He's talking about this community and how it's been so beneficial, and guys are landing jobs and the opportunities are being opened up and guys are mentoring people. And then he was like, wait, that's yours? And he looked at me and he's like, bro, this community is proper. It's proper, Allah Mubarak. So when you get that reaction firsthand, I was like, okay. Because
and that was really interesting because at that time I wasn't on socials.
You weren't on socials, it's true.
So you have to really be inside to know my face is attached to that.
Yeah.
So that's what was interesting. When I came into the cafe and there was a few brothers that were like, oh, you're that guy that founded DeenGineers. And I was like, oh, it's known like that.
And it's your team.
And you were probably looking around thinking, who's this guy wearing a suit coming into a cafe, remember?
I love it.
So alhamdulillah, that was interesting. That was an interesting perspective for me because I live in a very sort of certain bubble and proximity. Even when I'm in London, I go gym, I come back from gym, I train, that's it, work from home. It's quite a simple life that I live. So sometimes you don't get exposed to the impact that you have on people. Yes, I have a community, over 4,000 people involved, and you don't often bump into those people in real life. So alhamdulillah, that was interesting.
You know what though? I just want to, there's like a side point I think it's important and worth mentioning here. Everyone's chasing virality, and big views and like massive numbers. I remember I read this book over 10 years ago. It's called Tribes by Seth Godin. It talks about the importance of creating close-knit ties within your networks and your communities of whatever product or service it is that you're selling, such that it forms like a tribe. And he said you only actually need 1,000 solid members who really like love your thing and feel your thing to become extremely rich. You only need 1,000 guys that will just cross the street for you. 1,000 guys that will pull up at an event if you was to do it. And that shows, in it, like, because you're probably looking at 4,000 is probably not a lot. I also don't even have presence on no socials. But I say 4,000 is a lot of people, you know. You can fill up a couple stadiums with 4,000 people. And here's the thing. Most people might have like 4,000 in the school community, but there's no actual value there. When you actually provide value, that 4,000, I think they'll go to war for you. So, mashallah, man, it seems like you've genuinely provided a great service. Look, we're going to come to the actual project and what you're doing. And, you know, obviously we spoke not too long ago and I saw your genuine passion and care for wanting to help these brothers and sisters. Because financially, you don't need to. You've got other things that are going. This is actually something that has like a degree of lag, operational lag. But you feel passionate about wanting to help them. But from Tottenham. And, you know, from the ends. And you're now a coder. Or, well, you're an entrepreneur. Alhamdulillah, you know, wearing some custom-made suits and stuff like that. Well, how did that happen, bro? Because guys coming out of Tottenham don't do that. Guys don't come out of Tottenham.
Guys don't come out of Tottenham. They don't usually make it out. And it's very interesting because I think some of those traits that I got growing up in ends was quite transferable. So I'll be honest with you. I don't have that backstory where I'm passionate about programming. I was never that tech-savvy kid that was hacking Minecraft servers and that gamer that
Did they do that?
I was never that person.
No, but is there guys that
bro, there's a lot of people that work in these fan companies, Google, Meta, and all these big companies that they started off coding at the age of 11.
Oh,
snap. They got this passionate story. I can't relate to that.
Okay.
I just wanted to make money as quick as possible because in ends, all you get exposed to is fast money.
Yeah. Drugs, fraud.
That's all you get exposed to, right? This is how you make money quick. And I'm thinking, what can I actually do in a legitimate way to earn money as quickly as possible? My parents often push the idea of being a doctor.
Okay.
I'm just like, oh, that's long after. And I actually have an older brother that's a doctor.
Yes.
So I got that
GP,
exposure.
Right?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah.
So I got that exposure firsthand of what that actually takes.
It's long.
Right? Long. 6-year degree and then 2 years training and then 3 years specializing into GP. That's the fastest route. So if you're lucky, that's 11, 12 years, right? I'm thinking, I'm 18. That means I'm not seeing 60, 70K until I'm 30.
Oof.
I'm thinking, there must be a quicker way to make money. My teacher in school was telling me, okay, engineering, you can make good starting salaries, chemical engineering, mechanical. I'm looking into these fields. Cool, that's what I actually studied. That's what I actually did my degree in. I graduate and my starting salary offer for a mechanical engineering role, 19 grand.
Oof.
After 3 years of uni.
Oh, crazy.
I'm thinking, and it's not even in London. It's in a remote area in the UK, Lake District.
Oh, that's mad.
19 grand. I'm thinking, and I'm with no one, and I don't know anyone. I said, I can't go out like this. This isn't it.
I can't go out like this.
I'm talking to people. Of course, there's those anomalies that work in Rolls Royce and they get a decent starting salary. But even then, I actually have friends of mine that graduated same time as me, and there's a discrepancy of over 60K in our salaries.
Wow.
Just because of the respective field that we went into. We're as intelligent, as capable, as academic on paper, but we went into...
As in they had different degrees?
Same degrees.
Same degree.
But they went into mechanical engineering, I went into tech. I pivoted away.
I understand what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. So with tech, you're saying there's a discrepancy of 60. You're making 60K more just by virtue of being in tech.
60K more within the same amount of time of experience.
Wow.
And that is someone that is a leading engineer in their field, by the way. They're chartered, they've got good experience. And it's over 60K, right? And it was just, and this happened over time, and I'm realizing what I was taught about money, a lot of these things are gatekept.
Big time, bro.
Bro, I was shocked when I got into my field and I found out I could make £800 a day as a contractor. I was like, That's money.
You actually help some of your students make £850 a day, right?
I actually helped one of my students get a role as a contractor. Well, he started off, he got a 50k role at first. After a year, 2 years of mentoring, he still worked with us. He ended up landing at 850 day rate.
That's crazy, Alhamdulillah.
Bro, entrepreneurs don't make 850 a day.
Yep, no, they don't.
Even those that are very profitable in their business,
there's taxes,
their overhead,
there's wages,
the tax and everything, they'll be lucky to have that sort of liquidity.
You know, one of our mutuals, brother Sam Amin, right? So he obviously has a bunch of development projects, Allahumma barik, and his fundamental thing is cash flow. Like because he don't take no loans, it's just all straight up cash. He takes that money, puts it in. So I was speaking to him, I was like, bro, who's your like ideal type of prospect to look at for investment purposes? I'm thinking it's going to be entrepreneurs. He goes, no. He goes, the tech brothers. The tech brothers. I was like, what? Tech? They work 9 to 5, bro. Those guys are getting $200,000-$300,000 a year.
Exactly.
They've been stacking for 10 years. Some of them got million just like that.
People don't understand that, bro. If you're contracting outside IR35, which means you're now a self-employed. Outside IR35.
What's that?
Which is a law that basically means you're self-employed.
Okay.
So this 850 day rate isn't taxable via PAYE.
Oh, really?
You pay you're paying your own tax on that.
Okay.
So you're expensing, mitigating tax as if you're self-employed.
So in essence, what you can do is you can legally be very efficient with taxes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. You can legally be very efficient with your taxes as a contractor. So if you're now on these 850, 800 day rates, you know how hard it is for you to even look at entrepreneurship.
Just before we jump back into the podcast, I need to share something with you that's been weighing heavy on my heart for a few years. For years, you guys have asked me, is there a real way to make massive, passive wealth without touching riba? And truth be told, I didn't have a good answer for you. Most options available just seem like riba that's been rebranded as halal mortgages. And if the option is halal, then it's usually too risky, too scammy, or too slow. And then I came across Brother Sam Amin, who has $100 million of Muslim investor money invested in real estate. And this blew my mind. Here we have a guy who's helping people become multimillionaires through investing in real estate without riba. When I heard about it, I didn't jump on the opportunity straight away. I actually investigated it and I observed the brother for over a year. I met his investors that have made millions on the back of investing with him. One of his investors actually is an uncle who had humble savings that now have compounded into $7 million plus, Allahumma barik, in just a few years. His deal structure is actually amazing. You enter into a joint venture with him and his team manage it 100%. Within 2 years, you're expected to receive a 50% return on your investment, Allahumma barik, and there's no haram. It honestly got really emotional for me because we now have a vehicle that doesn't compromise your deen, nor does it compromise your ambition. So that's why I felt compelled to share this good news with you. So look, if you're serious about wealth creation and you have at least $100,000 liquid ready to invest and deploy within 30 days, and you want your money to move, you want it to multiply without any haram, then Sam's newest development project here in Dubai might just be your ticket to generational wealth. Now, if this appeals to you, it's important that you know that over $5 million has already been committed to this fund. And this round is going to be closing very soon, inshallah. I've placed the link to apply to invest in his fund in the description of this video below. Alhamdulillah, this opportunity is real, and so is the window. With that said, let's get back into the podcast.
Makes complete sense.
You know how hard it was, for me when I was in my career to even bother looking at entrepreneurship.
Especially that's at the beginning, because you can make your way.
There's some people that make 1,000 day rates. There's some people that do overemployment where they have multiple contracts at once. I actually know people personally in my life that take home over $2,000 a day, over $3,000 a day through overemployment. When you get good and you acquire a skill that is high income, you could leverage it in order to have multiple.
Because truth be
I'm not
told,
encouraging it, but
entrepreneurship, bro, it is long. Like, it is genuinely long. It is stressful, right? And it's like, bro, it's not even just the cash flow element that's stressful and scaling the business and growth. It's just the people management, dealing with the human resources. Like, your employees are upset today, there's this, there's that, motivating them. There's so much to it where it's like, bro, all right, cool. I might not, get to a point where I'm making like 5 million a year, but really, do I need 5 million a year if I'm making 200,000-300,000 every year? And then I can take that extra income,
a lot of it,
and I'm putting the excess into investments that are gonna compound passively over like a 5 to 10 year period. It makes complete sense to me, like why people do this tech thing.
And you get a lot of security, a lot of flexibility. And the one thing that people sometimes demonize about 9 to 5s, they tend to be new money. People that talk negatively on 9 to 5s, they tend to be people that come from a new money and often course sellers. That's the truth. The reason is anyone that's old money, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, how could you say and demonize 9 to 5s when your employees are all working for you?
So, this is something that I realized just this last year, and it hit me for 6, bro, is that I got to a point in our businesses where we reached massive bottlenecks where I had to start hiring corporate guys.
Yeah.
So, like the brother Idris, right? You spoke with him and seen him at the event. So this was our first official corporate hire. And when I brought him on, my mind was baffled at the way he performed. Like, as in, bro, the level of performance and execution, bro, is different. The way they think, it's like this corporate thing is a machine that's trained the mind and the skills of these guys. Because remember, it's cutthroat. Because at the end of the day, bro, if you don't perform in that corporate job, bro, there's like 50 guys that are ready to take your role. So if you're there, you have to perform at the highest level. The thing with those guys, they do sometimes get in their own way. They trip over themselves because they've been put in this corporate box. So there is a benefit to being an entrepreneur, which is having that vision, the risk taking and whatnot and so on and so forth. But what I did realize is that the guys that come from a corporate background and then they shift into entrepreneurship, they always seem to perform better. Bezos, as you mentioned, he done 10 plus years in corporate. And then he opened up Amazon. You met the brother Harris, right? At the trip. This guy was in corporate for a decade. And then you can see when he came to entrepreneurship, the way he just landed.
Of course.
One after the other, after the other, after the other, So no, I definitely do agree with you. Even though me personally, I've never done 9 to 5 in my life. And I chose that for myself. I just didn't like the idea of working for someone else.
Which is understandable.
Which it was a personal thing, though. Do you get me? But I definitely see the benefit in it. I definitely see the benefit.
Because you're there and you see the organic growth of a company. If you're embedded, like, how else are you going to learn? Let's say you want to become the next Microsoft. Like, those aspirations are all nice. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to become, it's nice having those aspirations. But if you haven't actually experienced that, where you've worked in those sort of industries and you've taken away their, agile ways of working, their processes, their management, their efficiency. If you haven't taken those things away, you have a huge, steep learning curve when you haven't had that exposure. And that's why I often encourage young people that are very young, before you dive into entrepreneurship, there's nothing wrong with exploring it on the side, but make sure to obtain a skill first.
Tell you how deep what you just said, bro, is that we never did our P&L until 10 years after business.
Wow.
Sounds mad. But it's like, bro, all day I'm like, bro, this P&L, what's this P&L thing? Because I'm making money. I see the money in the bank. But they were like, right, why do you keep going to zero? Why does that keep happening? Like, it's happened 4 or 5 times in the last few years. 1 to 0. I think this P&L thing that man's talking about is real.
I think it's real.
So, look, let's go back. So, you've done this degree now, and you're like, all right, cool. I need to find an opportunity, a vehicle that's going to help me accelerate my financial income faster than what your degree was offering, right? So, in essence, what you're saying is through tech, you were driving a Lambo, whereas guys who just went into mechanical engineering were in a Nissan Micra, right? They were in a car, they're in a vehicle that's slower. Right? It can't accelerate as fast. It can't even go to those speeds. It can't go those distances. Talk to me though. It's not as simple as just getting into tech. When you're coming out the ends, there's a lot of things that are holding you back. There's guys, there's mandem, there's issues. How do you navigate that? Because coming from that background, the mindset is very toxic, bro. It's very limiting as well. There's a lot of haters. When you start making moves, people are just looking at you funny. How do you manage that? Okay? Because I feel like sometimes that's even harder than the actual skill, man.
I'll be honest here, I've never spoke about it online. And I've always been really reluctant to talk about it online because I don't want to put a struggle story out there to get pity or anything like that. But I think now that we're on a podcast, you could provide a bit more context with things and my situation. So yeah, I grew up in South Tottenham. People that are from Tottenham probably know me. And yeah, I wasn't necessarily a bad kid, but I was definitely easily influenced. And I think most people at a young age want to be popular, right? So I definitely surround myself with people I shouldn't be surrounding myself with. And I had this huge polarity, which was so strange. But as someone that was an overachiever, relatively academically, right? I overachieved in terms of school, college and things like that. I was constantly going back to ends. So it was really weird because you had this kid that was getting good GCSEs and then focusing on his A-levels. But once he gets the bus back home, he's now chilling on the block with these guys because that's where he feels his home is comfort. And you could say, because everyone used to tell me, oh, you're stupid for chilling with these sort of people. Why? I constantly got it from my parents, everyone, like, stop chilling with these people. But they're all I knew.
That's all you can relate to.
They're who I went primary school with. They're who I kicked ball with. Like, before they picked up the spliff, they were my guy. Before they started shotting, they were my guy. Before they went jail, they were my guy. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And I really consumed that mentality that, like, if I'm going to make it, I'm going to bring everyone with me. Which was honestly one of the biggest things that held me back for a long time. Where I remember, like, we'll be chilling, and there'll be multiple little situations where they'll say little things like, oh, I could never pay tax. I could never do this. I could never work for the government are finessing us. Like, they're indoctrinated with a mindset where it's very victimizing and it's them against the world, right? So they don't care what they do. Their morality's out the window. They're like, we've been put in this situation. We don't care. And as much as I was trying to be positive, bro, I felt like I was Nelson Mandela in South Tottenham. Like, I'll be chilling with people in the block trying to tell them, look, you could do an apprenticeship. You could still do this. You could still, like, you know, and I'd constantly get that pushback where they're like, bro, I'm not a waste man to be paying tax. I'm not this, I'm not that. And it got to a point where I was drawing people out, where I was like, bro, you just got taxed when you got pulled over and they snapped your SIM and they took your line. You just got taxed when the Fed, took your fee. You just got taxed when you did a year in jail. That person's working a job and you looking down at him, how can he work a 9 to 5? He made money during that year, you got taxed, you made nothing and everything got taken. You got to start again. So when I was, like, explaining those things, a lot of people were taking it in. But as you can imagine, it's a very hostile environment where if you start doing well, there were certain situations were happening where people are like, they'll be saying certain things. And I heard it because one guy was incredibly loyal. There was a point where people were kind of plotting.
Against you?
Against me.
These were boys?
These were people that I grew up with, but their mind's everywhere at that point, right? Some of them are easy influence. Some of them have become younger gen. All the olders are in bin now. Authorities kind of switched over. These things, bro, it's a cycle. When you're in ends, you can literally see, okay, there's a bunch of 10, 11-year-olds kicking ball. That's where it is now. And my parents, they always saw it. They were ahead of the game. I didn't understand it. That, in 5 years' time, they're now the people shotting on the block. They're now these people. So then after little situations happen and I'm just like, okay, cool, this is actually volatile. Me trying to help these guys is very vulnerable. And now I get why people don't do it. Now I get why people need to remove themselves from certain scenarios, certain situations, or else they're jeopardizing everything they built. And as painful as that was to turn my back on everyone, and bro, even the other day, man, not the other day, but this was like 2 years ago, which is quite recent for me. One brother was outside, like, my parents' home, and he's shouting my name. Murrad, shouting. And I could hear it, and I'm in a meeting working remotely from my room. And I could hear this guy shouting my name. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, I tell my manager, one sec. I told my manager, oh, sorry, I think someone's knocking on the door. You know, you got your corporate voice on. You're still navigating the context switching. I'm like, oh, sorry, can you give me one moment? I just got to attend to the door. You know what I'm saying? Turn my camera off, mute it, open the window. I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, what's happening? I'm looking down from the window.
What's going on?
What's going on? He's like, bro, I need a job. This guy's been trapping for the longest.
Wow.
Bro, I'm done with it. I need a job. I've got a youth now. I can't do this anymore, Murrad. Help me.
So he had a moment of realization. And
he had a moment of realization. At that point, who else are you going to go to? And who else is...
The fact that he's just shouting down your name.
And I'm thinking,
shows the desperation.
My mum's could be at yard. People could be at yard. And like, he's shouting. This was about 3 years ago. And it was just like, cool, people really need help. And it still kind of eats me up to this day that there's a group of people that I can't help. No matter how much I try, because either jeopardizes me, puts me in vulnerable situations. I'm walking around with them. They might not now be a target. You might get drawn out. It's so hard to help that subset of people. And if anyone, and the thing is, no one else can help them, bro. Yeah. Bro, we used to have people that, what they call them, the youth workers that come to ends on that bus with the PlayStation and whatnot. And they'll come to us and they'll try to chat to us and we'll be like, oh, they don't know nothing. They can't relate. But I was the only person that I grew up with you, so you can't hold that narrative of I can't relate. You can't hold that narrative of I had some privilege that you didn't, or I was lucky and you didn't get lucky. And that is what allowed me to have that influence. But after a while, I just felt like couldn't change their circumstance, bro. And I had to just fully look away from that and just keep moving forward and helping the people I can help.
It's heartbreaking, wallah, because even with the da'wah that we did over when we was in the UK for like a better part of 10 years, like it was focused at the guys in the ends. And there was many with Allah's permission, man, that did change their life completely, done a 180, alhamdulillah. But there was also a lot, bro, that would come to the masjid, wanting to change. But 6 months later, they're in jail. And it could be for a old case that caught up with them or a op that was running them down, and then they had to just, go into self-defense mode. It's sad. It's called a trap for a reason. It's really called a trap for a reason, which is why I think it's so essential for people who are in that circumstance to just take heed of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. I'm sure you're familiar with it. The man who killed 99 people. When he killed 99 people, he went and asked a righteous man. He said, look, will Allah forgive me? And he said, no, you killed 99 people. There's no coming back from that. So he killed that guy too. And then he went and found a scholar, so an actual person who's knowledgeable of the religion. He said, will Allah forgive me? I killed 100 people. And he said, yes, but you need to leave this village because the people here are evil. You need to go to a village where the people are righteous and Allah will forgive you. So as he's on his journey, he dies before he reaches that village, and these two angels come down. The angel that wants to take him to the punishment of Allah, and the one who wants to take him to Allah's mercy. The one who wants to take him to Allah's mercy says, look, he was on his way to make tawbah. The other says, no, he didn't get there yet, so I'm taking him to hell. So then they said, let's measure the earth. If he's closer to the place where he came from, he'll go to the punishment. If he's closer to the new village where there's righteous people, he'll go to Allah's mercy. And he was closer to the evil village. But Allah changed the dynamics of the earth so that it now became he was close to the other village, and the man who murdered 100 people was forgiven because he was leaving the bad people. And that's so important about how that environment is just so evil. Like when you leave that evil environment, you'll be able to thrive. You will not be able to thrive as long as you're there. So that's why you've got to make drastic measures like get out the ends, like come to a different country, or bro, go live somewhere
else.
But don't go from Tottenham to,
there's not much worse.
That was the thing. Like,
you're struggling, you're like Tottenham to...
No, you know what it is? In my mind, I'm thinking, I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to offend anyone. But don't go from one hood to another hood. Do you know what I'm saying? That's my point. Is don't go from one hood to another hood.
Fair.
But look, that I guess, so you obviously understand the importance and power, positively or negatively, of having a community, right? Is that what gave rise to DeenGineers? Like, was there an active thing of like, I need to create a community to keep these guys motivated, to keep these guys supported because look, these guys, I can't help them because the community here is corrupted. It's drugs, it's women, it's but let's make a community that's actually, number one, Deen, in the name, engineers, right? And then there's that support. Was there like the actual mindset there?
I think that was probably a huge motivator for me. And it came to me as a shock because I've never had that sense of community growing up. So even people that might have been quite pious and religious around me, certain communities, I wouldn't be able to relate in terms of goals and aspirations and achieving things, whether that is financial, career-wise. Often those things didn't coincide where I grew up and when I grew up. So having a sense of community that mixed both, where it's like, yeah, we are centered in our deen, we do have certain principles and we uphold them throughout, you know, simple things that we don't apply to certain industries, right? We don't work in banks, we don't work in this, certain things we avoid, right? And having that centralized standard was just so supportive. And it started off with literally a few of us. Started off as a WhatsApp group chat, bro. It started off as a WhatsApp group chat, a few people that wanted to do some IT certifications in the cloud. Yeah? That's how it started off. And then within a few weeks, it reached the limit of WhatsApp.
Oh, wow.
And at the time, it was like 150.
150, yeah.
At the time, which was, it was like, as soon as everyone heard about it, it started going around ends everywhere. We started to see all brothers just hopping on it. You know, they're like, oh my gosh, this thing's the way forward. We found a way out. And then we're like, okay, cool. What do we do with this? We got to make a decision. So some of us that founded it, we decided to shift it to a new platform, Discord. Which is when we started exploring Discord, growing it, the growth just started skyrocketing. Had a few...
And fundamentally, what's the value that people are finding here? Like, what's making it skyrocket? Why do people just keep joining and it keeps growing?
You know what? It's hard to get that sort of value out of people without it being monetized. It's unheard of. To get technical support where, you know, you're getting time from, you know, senior engineers giving you their time. And these are things we had to outreach. I had to go on LinkedIn and find so many different senior engineers in different fields, data engineer, data scientist, whoever looked practicing, whoever looked like he had a beard, I had to grab them into the community and tell them, hey, this is an opportunity for you to start mentoring, giving back.
And they're doing it for free?
They're doing it for free. So that's how it started really growing.
Okay, so you went and actually outsourced
them.
But why? Because this wasn't a business model. You weren't monetizing it. What was the reason?
There was no money behind it, and that's why.
So what was the reason? Like, what made you? Because there's ihsan in that. Like, man's going out of his way to recruit guys for free, and convincing them to work for free. And they're senior.
Yeah, they're senior. They were more senior than me. At the time, I was like junior.
And there's no more financial motivation, right?
And there was no financial gain because I think seeing how rapidly everyone was doing well and succeeding, and people getting the support that I didn't have, was just so exciting to me. And I kind of always had that mentality that I don't want to be experiencing stuff on my own. You know, I felt that it's not imposter syndrome. The right word is survivor's guilt, where you come from a certain background and you're now doing well and all the people you know are not doing well.
Survivor's guilt, I've never heard of that before.
So it's essentially you've come from a certain background, you've made it out, and everyone there is still in the same position. And you feel a type of way about that. Because really and truly, being successful on your own isn't a win in life. I personally don't think so.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not.
If I was driving that Lambo on my own the other day, it's not as fun.
Yeah.
But the fact that I'm racing you, overtaking the brothers is what makes it a vibe. So that collective unity where everyone's doing well, there's no element of leeching, there's no, uplifting everyone, getting everyone to a good position. That was motivating and it made me feel less isolated. So I would also agree that in hindsight, there was probably a bit of a selfish element where I didn't want to feel alone in my success. That's why I made sure to put so much work in uplifting others and getting Muslims into the position that I was in.
So then obviously now you've made this community, there's that crazy support and mentorship. You've basically, guys who are coming into tech are being able to have their hand held and get that counsel and consultancy from guys that are at a higher level. It's opening doors for people. How does Kodakul Bootcamp come about now? which is where you actually train people with zero experience to land these 60K jobs.
Exactly. So the problem with a community that is for free, at the end of the day, no matter how much value you get, it's not the same as something being monetized.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as you're paying someone for your time, you're now accountable to get that level of support.
100%.
So there was a lot of people that needed hand-holding. DeenGineers works very well for people that might have really good degrees, that might be really capable to pick stuff up, that might have some technical background and want to pivot, and they might get ad hoc support while they're on their self-learning journey. But the Kodakul...
It's from guys that want to go from 1 to 10, not 0 to 1.
Exactly, not 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Whereas Kodakul is a bootcamp that takes people from non-technical backgrounds into landing 60, 50K roles starting. And we hold, they're handheld throughout that entire process. And the thing that's different is in this competitive market, the self-study route is horrible. Tech right now, you've probably seen it on the news. So many computer scientists that are unemployed, undergrads unemployed. The reason is the market's got really competitive with general software engineering roles. With the rise of AI, people no longer see the need for junior developers, mid-level developers. So my niche...
You've got the whole no-code thing now.
No-code.
People on bubble.
So my...
I know 1, 2, 3.
You done your research before the pod, yeah? You done your research.
Little bits and pieces.
So Kodakul essentially is formed as a way to combat this competitive market. Where we're giving all our expertise, all our application tips, everything that you can leverage in order to get a role as a DevOps engineer, which is a niche which stops that general software engineering competition.
Okay, so it's a very specific niche.
Exactly.
Where there is high job security.
Exactly.
And also another hack is that you actually own your own recruitment agency.
Yeah.
So do you funnel people into your recruitment agency from your students and help them land jobs?
So that's not something we do yet. Mainly because the Kodakul Bootcamp, the essence of it and the focus of it is we want students to be able to land jobs on their own.
Okay.
So we've seen other bootcamps out there that might actually give people certain roles or certain interviews, but a lot of them actually fall short. We want people to be empowered where they're given the technical ability where you could actually go out and get jobs. That is a big flex.
That's a lifetime skill.
Flex.
Yeah, big time.
Me giving you a lifetime skill where you could go and land a 60K starting job, which people have done from my bootcamp, is a bigger flex than me funneling people into a partnership that I have with someone that is also, very loosely worded. A lot of bootcamps, they do things that are quite loosely worded where it's like, oh, we'll get you this job, but really and truly you have to pass all of these set of criteria, and if you don't, you get kicked out. I deal with the hard 0 to 1 people that actually, if they've failed an assessment, they don't get kicked out of my bootcamp. If they're not performing well, they get extra time, extra support. I really believe in helping these people. So,
and I honestly believe you when you say that, bro, because obviously we've been speaking a lot since the summer with yourself, your team, Abdurrahman. And I remember like a constant theme that kept coming up when you guys were talking, because you beta tested the bootcamp, right? Allah Barak, and it was oversubscribed without having marketed it publicly. And you guys were just so reluctant to come out publicly until you had everything refined internally, because you knew the traffic that would come. You didn't want the system to break. You wanted to make sure that you provide people the highest level. And I think Abdurrahman told me, I think the first webinar you guys did was just like a month ago.
Yeah.
And this is since the summer.
Yeah.
And you guys obviously could have probably signed on some people, but you kept your capacity limited to make sure that you fulfill on the promises. Because it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm going to get 100 people signed up. They've all paid me X amount of money. I've just made, 6 figures overnight. But then to say, you know what, bro? I'm saying no to that massive volume of money and restrict it to a very small number, even though this is going to harm cash flow, but fundamentally, I'm going to be able to deliver at the highest level. And I know you have other businesses that make more money, Allahumma barik. And I know the operational drag and headache that comes with mentoring guys, period, let alone guys that are at 0, you want to take them to 1.
Exactly.
But the fact that you're still doing it, you're dedicated to it, your team is dedicated to it when you don't have to. I do believe you when you say you actually want to help these people. And I also think it will pay dividends from a business perspective later on down the line. How and whatever, there's obviously ways to do that, but it's a noble thing, man. I'll be honest with you. It's a noble thing. And that reminds me of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said that the most beneficial, the best believers are the ones that are most beneficial to mankind. The ones who actually, benefit the people. Like, to be able to help a guy earn halal money, feed his wife, clothe his wife, feed his kids, clothe their kids, bro. Give money to their parents. That's a big thing.
And for me, it's really deep because I deal with people that have real problems. Yeah. From DeenGineers to Kodakul to my bootcamp, I've constantly dealt with young people that have real issues. I don't want to take a student loan because I think it's haram, so I don't know what to do with life. I don't want to, I need to get married. I want to get married at a young age, but I can't because I don't have a job. Bro, the average rent in London is higher than the average salary. Which means, yes, the average rent in London is higher than the average salary. Which means that if you're not focusing on getting a high income skill, you have to be coming from a place of privilege.
You don't get told these things. This is the thing that's sad, isn't it? Like,
the average rent in London is higher than the average salary. So if you're not focusing on a high income skill, what are you doing? You're going to be lucky to live a life where you're paycheck to paycheck. That is going to be luxury. Because the standard is going to be people struggling to obtain a paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. And when people often talk about, oh, just do what you're passionate about. They advise young people, do what you're passionate about, explore your passion. Trust me, when you need to pay bills, when you need to provide, the landlord don't care about your passion. No one cares about if your passion pays or not. So when people often ask me, to get a deep, inspirational passion background about why I started coding, that's not my reality. I was passionate about spending time with my family. I was passionate about making the most of the time with my parents so I could work remotely. I was passionate about attending Jum'ah without having any headache. I was passionate about having a good income where I could support my parents and pay my own rent and pay my own bills and support everyone around me. That's what I was passionate about. And whatever allowed that, that was the route that I was going to go down. And tech was the pathway for that, and particularly DevOps. And that's what I'm trying to offer to everyone else.
So currently your bootcamp, when do the next spaces open up? Like,
I don't know if I'm doing another one.
Oof.
Honestly. Yeah, it might be the last one. It's just in terms of time,
the
team, the exhaustion, it's not always sustainable.
Yeah.
So either we run it once a year, which business-wise doesn't make sense financially. And it's just, the overhead is just a lot. And again, this is where we go back to, and this is how you know it's real, because we spoke about the value first. You'll compromise profits to provide value. The most profitable approach for me straight away would have been just to release a DevOps course. It's much more scalable. Yeah. There's nothing holding me back, and that would have been an easy 7-figure move, right? In comparison to having a bootcamp where it's cohort structured, where you have to give ongoing support, things like that, it's not sustainable. So most likely, we're going to focus on our school community.
Okay.
That's going to be our biggest focus, where we give people the support they need.
But school community is nice, you know why? Because it's, instead of that one-on-one support, you still give that group support. That's really the only thing that changes, right? You have multiple sessions throughout the week.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
It's all that happens is, instead of it being one-on-one, it's now
more group sessions. And people get the support they need.
Get the support.
Everything's there.
Yeah.
So it's just not as personal of an experience. But outside of that, it's really good and it makes sense. But bootcamps aren't as profitable as people think, for the reasons of why we spoke about previously. If you're actually working in tech, making money, 850, 800 a day, in order to justify a bootcamp, it's quite hard to.
The ones that are usually profitable are the ones where it's the ones that usually people call a scam, right?
Yes.
It's like the guy charged you money for something that he couldn't actually fulfill.
Yes.
Right? But if you want to hire all these coaches and these mentors, or not a lot of value.
It's just mad scalable.
So
you could do a low ticket bootcamp, scalable,
exactly.
But if I'm actually getting people 60k jobs, I need to, every interview.
You're probably reviewing their interviews. Their CVs.
CVs, refine. Every interview that someone has, from the recruiter conversation, just so they talk to the recruiter, I need to tell them how to handle internal recruiters. Why don't you just 3x the price and just still do it? I don't know if my demographic can handle it. That's the only reason. 3x the price, the value's there, it makes sense. But the people that I'm trying to help, can they afford free extra price?
Nudge it by 1.5k or something. You can do it.
See, he's trying to he's trying to get you lot another boot camp.
No.
He's trying to help you.
No, because I'm buffed that. You're telling me you guys are present in the interviews?
In terms of every interview stage that they have, we prep them for.
That's crazy.
So from the recruiter conversation, how to handle internal recruiters, if they ask you what salary you're on, make sure not to answer. If they ask you for your salary expectations, don't tell them that. Ask them what the budget is of the role.
That's crazy.
And then leverage that. And then in the first stage, this is how you handle talking to a hiring manager, you know, the culture fit, the values, all of these things. And then the next stage, the technical stage, go above and beyond, whether it's a technical assessment, whether you're breaking down the end-to-end deployment. And then the final stage interview, how to thrive in the culture fit, important things like having...
I say how to thrive in the culture.
How to thrive? No, work culture is a real thing.
That's a massive thing. But who teaches you that?
There's hundreds of people that are interviewing for this job. How are you getting this 60k job? We are separating you from all these other candidates, right? Understanding concepts like no blame culture. Instead of blaming an individual when something goes wrong, we have a collaborative approach to see what solutions we could put in place. Do we need more monitoring and alerting to resolve this issue sooner? All these things that...
It's what employers want to hear.
What employers want to hear. Changes the game, right? And this is deep of me doing hundreds and hundreds of interviews. This is me from the perspective of I've been a hiring manager. This is why my thing is different. This is why my boot camp is so different, bro. I've come from a non-technical background. All my instructors have come from a non-technical background. We know the game inside out. So when people are like 60k starting job and you know, no technical background, we can't believe it. Yeah, that's your limiting beliefs, but we've been doing it. I have someone that is a student of mine that after a year and a half was making 800 a day. So this is my reality, right? This is people that we've helped, and it's because we've done so much work. Landing jobs abroad. I could release all the gems here. You know, I could tell people back to back what to do. I could do it for hours. So because of that and the amount of value we have to provide, it's just not sustainable doing it in a bootcamp format, and it's much more effective in the community, in the school community, because we also help people that are mid-levels going to seniors. So I've helped people increase their salary by 30k within 6 weeks. Oh, wow. So when I have such a diversity pool of people that I can help, it only makes sense to provide a collective support through a community. Because a lot of mid-levels are like, oh, I want to join your bootcamp, but bootcamp has the concept of beginner, but it's not. Our program's quite advanced, and that's what separates our students from others. We teach advanced concepts from the basics and give all of that help. So by the time you're done with our 3-month bootcamp, you have 2 to 3 years of experience.
Oh wow!
On average, your knowledge is 2 to 3 years of experience by the time you've done our 3-month bootcamp. I know so many senior engineers are gonna cry and say that's not true. Cry, because when you're on your job and you've been in the industry for 5 years and you're on your 65k salary because you haven't learned the in-demand tools like Kubernetes, Kafka, and the things we teach in our bootcamp, and they take the job over you, then you cry. Oof. But my students stay winning. Alhamdulillah.
Allah Barik. So look, fundamentally what I'm seeing is that the bootcamp and school community, sorry, let's not say school because of the negative connotations. What's it called? The school community, what's the name?
It is school. It's a school community.
What's it called?
Kodakul.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So look, fundamentally the difference between the Kodakul bootcamp
and the community
and the Kodakul community is just that instead of one-on-ones, it's group. So the value seems to be the same, like, truth be told.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and in fact, you're probably getting a bit more value because it's over a longer period.
Of time.
you know,
maybe sometimes the 3-month thing is a bit stressful for people. This may be a bit more go at your own pace. Man. So look, guys, I think it will be a travesty to not go pursuing the links below, inshallah ta'ala, and get inside Brother Murrad's ecosystem.
If Imran pushes for it, I might do one more bootcamp.
I think you should, bro. I think you should, wallah. I definitely think you should. The way you've explained it and broken it down, I definitely think you should. Yeah, I definitely think you should, bro.
Yallah.
It's just...
It's only because of the main man.
Barakallah fi. Because, people hearing this, man, I feel like the value, it's like, I waited all the way to the end and you're telling me it doesn't even exist.
Alhamdulillah, it's there. But again, it's all about maintaining that high. And the reason why we actually have another high level of success in it is because of our high qualifiers. So a lot of boot camps just take anyone because it's about making money. We give an hour for free of our boot camp course for you to watch and do a technical test on it.
Before you can even enter.
Which ensures that our style of teaching aligns with your style of learning and you're someone that could apply the knowledge. This allows us to qualify people because the last thing you want to do is take in people that are not serious and then it's a bad reflection on you.
No, 100.
Worst thing. Because
that's why Oxford only lets a certain caliber of people in, which is why they can say 90% of our guys
get top grades or go to these top jobs.
Barakallah fi Murrad, man. Allah, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. And definitely this is going to be the first of many collaborations and partnerships that we do.
Inshallah, it's been a pleasure, man.
From the first day I met you, man, in that cafe, as we said at the beginning, bro, I've been a supporter of your thing, man. I've seen the fruits. It was right next to me, brother. You know what I'm saying? All the way up until now, a year plus. You've been consistent. You've been doing the khair.
Likewise, bro. I resonate with everything you've done because I feel like it's a bit similar in terms of you didn't just jump on monetizing stuff. You did the hard yards for years. So when people doubt you, they don't understand that you were doing this before there was money in it. You were helping people before there was any incentive in it. And then now when, you are providing a different level of value because you need to monetize. If you don't monetize, you're doing them an injustice.
100%.
If people don't invest, they get less value.
100%.
If people don't invest, they get less value of your time. It's just natural.
Yeah.
We all got priorities. We all got things to do. And to provide that level of support, there's nothing wrong with it after you've done the hard yards and you got the accolades to show for it.
Alhamdulillah, man. We're in the grind. We're in the trenches. You know what I'm saying?
Alhamdulillah.
And it's lovely to see that, look, not everyone's going to be an entrepreneur act. Sometimes you don't need to be. There's better options, right? I think the tech thing is definitely one of those opportunities to do hijrah and everything. So look, guys, check out Murrad at the link below. Inshallah ta'ala, the socials will be there. And the link towards the boot camp will be there. And any other interesting stuff. It was a pleasure, man.
A pleasure, my brother.
Barakallah fika. But that's it, guys. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.
If you are a practicing Muslim that's doing work that actually matters, then I want to host you on this podcast. You see, this ummah is in need of real men. Men who build, teach, solve, and lead. And they are amongst us. We just don't know their names yet. But this podcast was created to change that, to spotlight those whose work, wisdom, and story can benefit the ummah in real ways. So if you are someone who's making impact, leading with knowledge and skill, or you have a story that the Muslims need to hear, then I want to host you. So that includes students of Islamic knowledge, entrepreneurs, doctors, psychologists, authors, academics and PhD holders. I need you guys. Charity and community workers, educators, journalists, relationship coaches, health and fitness coaches, personal development folks, or anyone that is doing great work. So if you are any of the above or anything like it, then I've got a form that I've placed below for you to fill out, and my team will go through that form and hopefully we will showcase your experience, your wisdom, your story right here on this channel, on this podcast for the Muslims to hear. The ummah is waiting. So let's bring the real ones forward with Allah's permission.